We're here with Congressman Bill Shuster, the chairman of the House Infrastructure Committee. Chairman, thank you for talking to Bloomberg.
Sure, it's great to be here.
I want to ask you, a lot of talk from President Trump about having a $1 trillion infrastructure plan. How is he going to pay for it? I know you have a proposal in the House of Representatives.
Well, first, let me say it's exciting to have the President of the United States talking about infrastructure in his inaugural address. America has not invested in its infrastructure over the last 20 or 30 years like it needs to, and so we've got some real problems in this country, whether it's lack of capacity or there's crumbling infrastructure. $1 trillion is a number he put out there. It's not all going to come from the government, the federal government, but there are other places to find those dollars to cobble together $1 trillion. Certainly, we need to look at the revenues coming from the federal dollars increasing, solving the problem with the Highway Trust Fund, and we'll look at many options for that. Also looking at public-private partnerships, that's one tool in the toolbox, but also there's billions and billions of dollars out there, private sector dollars that are projects that aren't moving forward because of some federal government agencies slowing it down. For instance, in Pennsylvania, there are 2 pipeline projects, 100% private dollars, $4 billion for 2 pipelines, thousands of construction jobs and hundreds of jobs after they're completed, and they're bogged down by federal government agencies. We've got to unlock that.
Mr. Chairman, another part of your proposal would be to take back some of the money through corporate tax reform and put that toward infrastructure financing. Can you explain a little bit about that and how important it is for Congress to pass that tax reform as a potential mechanism to pay for infrastructure?
Well, that's one of the things we're considering. Of course, that has to come through the Ways and Means Committee, the Tax Writing Committee, but we certainly are talking with them about that as well as other things. I think everything has to be on the table to look at, to figure out how to solve the declining balance in the Highway Trust Fund and making sure we're making the investments in a national transportation system.
What is the timeline for infrastructure spending or an infrastructure package?
Well, the sooner the better, but we've got Obamacare first up, and then the tax reform has to go forward to figure out where the dollars are going to come from, and then after that, infrastructure. So I'm looking sometime maybe this summer, early fall. Hopefully we'll get it done this year.
I also want to ask you about air traffic control reform. I know that this is an issue that you have been the leader on for Republicans. Talk to me about, number one, the conversations that you've had with the White House as well as airline CEOs about the need for this reform.
Sure. Let me start out by saying, first of all, we have a very safe aviation system in this country, but it's not efficient. By separating the regulatory piece from the operations piece, which has been successfully done with over 60 countries in the world, we believe it's the time has come for us to do it, so that it's not just the bureaucracy at the FAA that's the problem. They can't get out of their ways to get these new technologies deployed. It's also Congress, the starts and the stops on funding. So by separating, we believe it can put more certainty in that operations, to take the money to invest it in a modern navigation system that'll give us more efficiency, and I believe will even increase safety even more if we do that.
Critics say that it would privatize the industry. Are they wrong, or why are they wrong?
Well, what I like to say is when you privatize something, that's a for-profit motive. We're talking about separating it from government for a non-profit corporation, much like you'd see a co-op in this country, and many Americans have success and seen a co-op successful. We believe governed by the stakeholders, by a board, but also the federal government and Congress still have oversight, safety oversight, regulatory oversight over that. So again, this is what 60 countries have done successfully, and I believe it's time for us to move into the modern world and get this modern technology deployed.